Hello everybody, James with Love My Pups, My Breeder Supply. Thanks for watching my videos. So, Q&A session. Right, let's get right to it. Can I progesterone test my girl on the 7th day in heat, or is that late? Is that too late if the results come the next day? All right, so back to the old graph of what's going on with progesterone levels and breeding. I've got to learn to draw straight lines that don't go uphill, so I'm going to redo that. Alright, that's better. Alright, progesterone level. 1, 0, 10, 15, 5. Day 0, first drops of blood. Your girl's at day 7. So most dogs get bred around day 11 through 13. That's the normal dog. At a progesterone level of around 15. So that's where that is. Most dogs ovulate around day 9 with a progesterone level of 5. So that's where that is. Most dogs don't show much of a progesterone increase till about day 5. They're sub 1. Then it does that. And that's what an old progesterone looks like. So, you're going to test on day 7. And you're going to find that your progesterone test results are going to be something around a 2. It's about the number you're going to see, if she's a normal dog. And that's not really particularly useful in terms of when to breed that dog. If you get a progesterone level in these first 5 days, the number you get back doesn't mean a darn thing. It's not really very useful at all. So, but I do like to get a first progesterone test done around day 7, because some dogs do get bred as soon as day 8. You don't want to miss things out. But the answer is well, here's an interesting thing, is if you take the blood on day 7, you get the results the next day, which most places have to send off to a lab. Most places you go in for a progesterone test, they draw some blood, they send it off to a lab, you don't get the results till the next day. So the results that you get the next day, day 8, is that the progesterone level on day 8? No, it's the progesterone level where the blood was taken. You can take blood and keep it for 5 days and then look and see what the progesterone level is, and you're getting the progesterone level results from the day the blood was pulled. The progesterone level does not keep going up in the blood, only if that blood's circulating in the animal, if that makes sense. So the answer is yeah, you're fine, because day 7, remember, we're breeding, most dogs are bred day 11 to 13, you've still got 4 days here. So you're fine. So that's not a problem. If you do a progesterone first test about 6 or 7, that's fine. What I recommend to people is what, you may change the date you get a progesterone test if you're on a Friday. If you go in on a Friday to get a progesterone test done, they've got to send it off. They don't give you the results until Monday. That can be a real problem. So watch out for that one. But the answer is day 7 is probably fine. If it was a Friday you're coming in, and that's day 7, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and you didn't get the results until then, day 8, day 9, day 10, that might be a bit rough on you. So if it was a Friday on day 7, I'd have the test done on day 6 and get the results Friday before the weekend to know where you are. I hope that makes sense. But anyway, but the answer is yeah, day 7's fine. Expect to do 2 or 3 progesterone tests, because what we're trying to do is we want to find out when this dog is going to be at a 15, because that is the point that we're going to breed this dog. If we're doing a regular AI, we'll do it on a higher number. We'll do it on about a 20 if we're going to do a surgical insemination, which is typically the day after that. But we are looking to find out when that dog's at a 15. If we're going to ship semen, the day before it's a 15, it'll be at an 8. So we want to find out what's typically day 10. So we want to find out, if I'm shipping semen to somebody, I want to find out when that level's an 8. If we're actually going to do the breeding, the next day it's a 15, we want to breed on a 15. All right, enough on that one. And while I'm wiping that off, let's find the next question. Put the password in. Glasses are dirty. Sorry for the wait here. My blue French bulldog just had puppies. They are a week old. They are whining more I feel like they are not getting enough milk. Is it okay to intervene and feed them replacement milk? Can I still feed them with mum? All right, that's a good question. So I get this one a lot. So let's talk about puppies for the first week of their life and what the heck's going on. So one of the problems that you can run into, especially with C-sections, is that mum's milk has not come in yet. So here we are at day 0 and we don't have any milk, no milk. So what do? Well, typically by the time you're at day 1, most of those situations milk's come in, if not by day 2, but still you've got this period here with no milk. So what do? Well, the answer is you better be doing something, otherwise your puppy's going to get in trouble. So I recommend, well, there are milk replacers that you can buy. Espilac is one of them. I haven't used Espilac, but I'm sure it's absolutely fine. Some of these things claim that they have colostrum in them. I have my doubts as to whether or not that's really what's going on, that's really any good, but it can't hurt. But what I use is goat's milk. So I use, the product that I buy is Meyenberg. And I buy the powdered version of it, powdered goat's milk. Powdered. And by the way, you do not want to use cow's milk. It's not very digestible for puppies, they'll get in trouble. You absolutely want to use either a milk replacer like Espilac or goat's milk. It comes in 3 flavors. Condensed, you can buy that at Walmart, it's in the baking section. You mix it 50-50 with water. Fresh, you buy that in the dairy section along with the creamer. Or the powdered version of it, which keeps forever in your cupboard. The nice thing about the powdered version is you can just turn the hot water tap on, put a spoonful in a bottle, fill up with about that much in a bottle of a human feeding bowl, about that much water, swirl it around a little bit, and you're good to go. And then whatever you don't use, you can just throw down the sink. So it's very, very quick with the powdered milk. I mean, you can make it up literally in, in 15 seconds, 30 seconds, you've got milk ready to go. So yes, absolutely, you should be supplementing. So there's 2 ways to supplement. A bottle, and I use a human bottle with a 0 to 3 month old silicone nipple, not one of these little pet things that you can buy with tiny little nipples on them. They're worthless, throw those away. A regular human bottle. The nipple looks huge, but by the way, look at your Frenchie when she's been having puppies. Her nipples are huge too, it's fine. So I supplement milk anytime that I need to. So I'll supplement milk in the first day or 2 if the puppies are not getting enough milk from mum. Got a big litter, not getting enough milk because you can't produce it, supplement again with goat's milk, put them back on mum. You can do both at the same time, no problem at all. I've got videos on feeding puppies with bottles. I've got videos on feeding puppies with a French tube. So a French tube is very convenient, it's very fast, it's very safe, it's very easy to do. If you've got a lot of puppies you've got to feed, it will let you have your life back. So check out the videos that I have on that. But the answer is absolutely supplement and put them back with mum too. Don't keep them away from mum. Don't need to. All right. And while I'm wiping that off, let's find the next question. Siri wants to help me. Okay, Siri, I need some glasses. What happens if you breed a long coat carrier with another long coat carrier? Will some of the puppies come out fluffy? Okay, so this gets back to this Punnett squares and recessive genes. So let's just go over this really quickly. So, Punnett square. Draw a square. You've got a horizontal and a vertical line there. And we'll put the dad or the male on the top. And we'll put the mum on the side. And mum, she is a long-haired carrier. So we will call that, well, I've done it differently before. I've used an F. We will say that FF is a non-fluffy dog. And little f is a fluffy. And so that is a fluffy carrier. All right, so we've got a fluffy carrier. So it's got one not fluffy and one fluffy. And the other dog, again, is one not fluffy and one fluffy, because they're fluffy carriers, right? With recessive genes, and most of the things in color are recessive, you have to have 2 copies to be able to, with the puppy, to exhibit the phenotype, the physical thing you're looking for, which in this case is a fluffy, a long-haired dog. So what happens? Well, this gene and this gene to go together, we get a dog has no long-haired genetics at all to it. We put this one and this one together, we get a dog that has one copy. It's like its parents. It doesn't look long-haired, but it has the ability to produce long-haired dogs. This one and this one, same thing again. We've got a fluffy carrier. And this one, there it is. There's our fluffy. So, 1/4 of the dogs are not fluffy at all. They have no fluffy genes, not fluffy. 1/2 of the dogs are fluffy carriers, which means they are like their parents. They do not show long hair, but they can produce fluffies. 1/4 of the litter are fluffies. So there it is. So if you had a litter of 4, you'd expect to get 1 puppy on average. Remember, this is statistical in nature. There's no guarantees that it's going to come out exactly like this every time. It won't. But if you had 8 puppies, you'd expect to have 2 fluffies. If you had 12 puppies, you'd expect to get 3 fluffies, and so on and so forth. All right. Very good. Okay. Somebody's asking about the dog that I showed with the prolapsed anus that was a year old. How is he doing? He's great. He's actually been adopted by a family in Amarillo, and he is doing absolutely great. He's a great dog. They love him to death, so no problems whatsoever. Hello, somebody wants one of my dogs. Are all your puppies about the same price? No. So I price my puppies based on how they look, their colour and their sex. So the more exotic colours that are smaller dogs with great conformation that are females go for the highest prices. The dogs that are bigger, don't have as nice a structure to them that are male, are lower prices, and it varies all over the place. Can I use a puppy pad warmer? Well, I'm not sure exactly what you're asking here. I mean, if you're asking about keeping a puppy warm, let's say that you've got a puppy that you've got to take away from mum for whatever reason. The puppy's not doing so well, needs some special attention. Then the best solution for that is to have an incubator, which of course we manufacture. But let's say you don't have an incubator, then put a heat pad in a box with a towel on it and put the puppy in that. That'll work. Certainly work for a few hours. Take a water bottle, put hot water in it. Put the puppy with a towel against that. That'll work. Go put some rice in the microwave in a bag and microwave it and get it hot, or some beans, and I mean dried beans. You could put a puppy up against that and get a puppy warm. So all of those things will work. I don't like puppy pad warmers as a general long-term means of keeping a puppy warm or puppies warm, because they're not. There's a couple of things that are wrong. The first one is they don't regulate the temperature, so that's one thing I don't like. And then you've got to be really careful on lots of these pads, especially the human heating pads these days. They're designed to shut off after a certain number of hours, like typically 2 to 4 hours. So you can think everything's great. You leave a dog or a puppy on a puppy pad and it's all good, or it's a human heating pad, and you come back 4 hours later and the pad's stone cold and the puppy's in trouble. So watch out for that. What do you breed with a Frenchie to produce long hair? Well, that's the one we showed up before. Both parents have to have a copy of the long hair gene to produce a long haired dog. Somebody's asking how much they're going for. The answer is quite a lot. They're pretty expensive dogs at the moment because there's not very many of them out there. A French bull that has a prolapsed uterus, can it still get pregnant? Well, typically when you say prolapsed uterus, you're more talking about vagina. The uterus itself is way up inside the dog, so that typically, if that prolapses, that's probably pretty bad. Never been in that situation. But to have a dog that has a prolapsed vagina, where you have something the size of a tennis ball sticking out the end of a dog, I've seen that quite a few times. And successfully inseminated those dogs and had successful litters. Part of the secret to this is if you have a dog that has prolapsed, then there's a good chance that it'll prolapse during birth, and that could be a real problem. But if you C-section, then you escape that, because typically you don't go into full-blown labor, and so those interuterine pressures that are trying to push things out don't push the vagina out, so you solve that problem. How do you make a platinum? Okay. How do you make a platinum? Okay, so a platinum dog is a chocolate dog. And by the way, that's not testable in most Frenchies, but it will have red eye glow. So all platinums and chocolates and lilacs have a red eye glow in the dark room, so it has red eye glow. You can test for this one, the dilution gene or the blue gene, has to be that. And then it has to be cream. It has to have 2 copies of cream. And so a platinum dog looks cream because the cream gene, always trumps everything else. It's like white paint. So that is a platinum right there. It'll look cream. It'll look slightly different than most cream dogs. Its eyes will be a lighter color because of the dilution gene going on. But basically, that is a platinum. And by the way, that is a champagne. A chocolate dog that's cream is a champagne. And this is a blue dog covered in cream. And I don't think there's a name for it other than that. So those are the kind of unusual colors. Okay. Okay, so my girl bled one night and that's it. Okay, so what we're talking about here is a dog that doesn't choke. So this could be a problem. You have a dog, most dogs, you see a drop or 2 on the ground in their bedding. If you've got panties on the dog, you see some red spots on that. That's day 1. Most dogs continue to bleed, and they continue to bleed for quite some time. And if this is a graph again, it's called a progesterone graph, this is day 0. Typically most dogs will continue breeding and start lightening up about the time they ovulate, which most dogs is around day 9. So here you've got typically quite a deep red blood is apparent, is seen in this area here. And then about here it's lightening up. So the blood is lightened up. And then from there on out it's gone vanilla or maybe a pink color from there on out. For most dogs. So if you see that, you get a pretty good idea. Now this is, I'm going to say vanilla. I spelt that wrong, it's only one N, but that's fine. Vanilla color, or a pinky color, or a straw color from here on out. And then the whole thing stops after this. You know, by the time we got to day 15 or 20 or something, we don't see any blood at all. And the first stages are, you might see some swelling going on. The vulva might swell. Some dogs it swells a lot, other dogs it doesn't swell much. Some dogs look like a baboon by the time they get to this point, some dogs they don't. Some dogs show very little blood at all, some dogs show no blood at all. So this is just an indicator, but it's certainly not the be-all and end-all of what's going on. The only thing that you can do to know exactly what's going on during this period here is to do a progesterone test. And so I keep harping about this. But this is the really progesterone. The only way that you can really know what's going on truthfully is a progesterone test. And remember that progesterone level looks something like this. And what we're looking for is a progesterone level at ovulation of 5, and to be breeding that dog around day 11 with a progesterone level of something around 15. So that is the real test of this, is to get progesterone tests done to find out what the heck's going on. But I don't know if I answered that question very well. The vet did a regular progesterone test on the 7th day. It was 0.4. The vet says they can't tell if she's in heat or not. Well, that's true. Told me to come back in 5 days. So what he's saying is, look, we are still sub 1, and we're in this 0 to 5 day period, which is correct. So what he's saying is, look, I think we might be in this for 5 days. We've got at least another 4 or 5 days to go. Come back in 5 days and test again. I think that's a reasonable answer from the vet. I put down a payment on a French Bulldog, Blue Merle. How do I know if it's really a Merle or a Blue? Well, the answer is, look at the parents and decide whether the parents one of the parents is Merrill. That's the first thing, has to be. The second thing is, do one or both of those parents look blue? That'd be a good indication. And then finally, have somebody do a genetics test. Have somebody do a DNA test and stand behind. I see lots of people who make claims about dogs that might be wrong. And so, you know, you can talk to a person, maybe anyway, I could talk to a person and get a feel for whether they knew what's going on genetically about their dogs. And if you're convinced that they know what they're talking about, great. If you're not, someone needs to do a progesterone test and needs to do a DNA test. Talk to those people. So people here said, we've got problems, we need some help, can we call you? And the answer is, yeah, you can. Number's right there. If I can be of help, call me. I did talk to them and help them out, hopefully. Please tell me which level is perfect for mating a bitch. The answer is 15. Progesterone level 15, breed. Day after an 8. Can you make a video explaining the 4 types of chocolate genes in Frenchies? Well, there's not really 4 types, there's 2 that I'm aware of. So we could do a whole video on this at some point, but there is testable chocolate. I think I did a video on this, so I'm not even going to go into any great detail, but there's 2 different kinds of chocolate in Frenchies. Most Frenchies that are chocolate are not testable. They'll come back as big B on a test, but they'll have a red eye glow. So that is the typical thing, is they'll come back like that. It says they're not chocolate, but they have a red eye glow. And I mean a red eye glow in a video, not a photo. If they have that, then they are a non-testable chocolate. The other thing is they come back from a test like this. That's testable chocolate. And you could have this and still be a chocolate. You could have, but this is testable chocolate. So they'll produce, if it's a lilac, it's called an Isabella, if it's like that. I would guess maybe 1 in 10 Frenchies are testable at this point. I get lots of silly comments, but I thought this one was good. This is after I did an insemination. He called me a petophile. I thought that was quite fun. Anyway, I take to James a French Bulldog question, expecting a short response, and he called me instead with an hour, free of charge, with great wisdom. Thank you. Well, that's nice. Thank you, David. Appreciate that. Here's a good one. Where lost it? What colours of Frenchies are most likely to have health problems such as allergies, blah, 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 blah. So the question on this one is there's lots of people, especially people who hate the idea of these chocolate, lilac and blue dogs. They'll say, oh, they all have allergy problems and they don't have genetic diversity. Well, there's a certain amount of truth to this, probably if you went back 10 years ago. So if you look at a population, look, example would be fluffies. Fluffies, there's probably not a very good genetic base for these dogs yet. So I would expect that you'd have significantly bigger possibilities of having problems with a fluffy than you would with, for instance, a fawn dog. But blues and chocolates and lilacs have been around for a decade, and so they have by now huge genetic diversity. So I personally do not see any, it's not to say that Frenchies can't have allergy problems, because they definitely can have allergy problems. But I generally cannot give you a group of dogs that I'm going to tell you has a bigger, a bigger likelihood of having health problems by colour. And I don't even know that fluffies have big problems either. I'm fixing to find out because I've got a couple of fluffies, so we'll see. But generally, I think that these days is that you can have allergy problems in Frenchies, sure. You have to maybe work on diets and other things to fix those problems. I don't see that very often, but I do get a lot of people asking about it, so it's out there. Have you ever heard of a chocolate merle? Sure. Chocolate merles are all over the place. So chocolate merle has one copy of merle. And has that. That's a chocolate merle. They're all over the place. So the lilac has blue eyes and the chocolate has red eyes. No, definitely not right. So, remember that lots of Frenchies, the majority, they don't have testable chocolate, but they have red eye glow. So anytime that you see a dog that somebody's claiming is a chocolate, check for a red eye glow, because I tell you, brindles can look like chocolates, but if it has a red eye glow, I guarantee it's a chocolate dog. If it is a blue dog as well, those two things together, then that is a lilac. Those two together make up a lilac. A chocolate blue dog is a lilac, and guess what? It will have a red eye glow. If it doesn't have a red eye glow, it's not a chocolate, nor is it a lilac. If it has a red eye glow and it tests DD for blue and it looks blue, it's a lilac. End of story on that one, for me. Okay, getting near the end here. No, that's too long. I'll do that one. How much are your cute puppies going for? Well, go to my website, lovemypups.com. I have 2 litters right now on the ground. I've got a litter of 5 lilac and tans, and I have a litter of 2 that's a merle lilac and tan and a lilac and tan. Would you cover fawn and sable colour genes in the video? Sure, I'll do that here in a little bit. If you make your channel a little bit less breed specific, it will grow faster. Well, I mean, sure, but I'm not really about trying to grow my channel, to be honest with you. I'm just trying to give information to people. So, you know, I am a Frenchie person. I've got lots of Frenchie studs, got 20 of the silly little dogs. So I do know a lot about Frenchies, so I try to talk about things I know about, but a lot of this stuff carries over to everybody else. So hopefully everybody can get something out of most of my videos. If I'm talking specifically about Frenchies and merles and chocolates, then that probably may not apply to you. But I think the things that I talk generally about, testing dogs, progesterone levels, weaning puppies, feeding puppies, puppy problems, those are true of all breeds. I want one, sure. Somebody says, why no brindle? Well, they've got a whole video on this. Look, I mean, I don't want to go bash brindles. Brindle dogs look cool, but they just don't sell as well. And so, you know, for various reasons, a lot of us don't want to raise brindles. Blah, blah. So I'm going to one more here. Oh, I'm suffering from singletons. Singleton being a single puppy with 4 different Yorkshire Terriers while using AI. Any tips to avoid that since they are dying on delivery due to the size? Ooch, please help if possible. Yep, so here we go. Here's a non-specific Frenchie problem. So he's raising Yorkshire Terriers. And Yorkshire Terriers, and 4 times, and they had singletons, and they haven't lived. So what is going on? Well, anytime that somebody has, if it's one female that's always producing singletons, then you have to think about whether or not that might be an issue with the female itself. So some things that can go wrong in a female is lack of progesterone levels staying up there, causing puppies to be reabsorbed. So the first thing I would do is, if I had a girl that consistently, with different males, was producing small litters, I would go and have progesterone level tested during the pregnancy. Progesterone. So I would test that. It has to stay up high. It's got to be like 20 and above to be able to sustain a pregnancy successfully. So I would test that. I would also do a complete blood panel. What is that? That's probably not the way you do it. CB, well, it might be, I don't know, but anyway. But basically check for things like thyroid. $50 gets it down to the vet. Check and make sure there's nothing out of whack in a blood chemistry. So I would check the girl to make sure that the girl doesn't have a problem, if this is the same girl consistently. But generally, small litter size is because of timing. Number one problem with it is timing. You have not bred the dog at the right time. You maybe started breeding the dog way early and kept on breeding the dog to the same, and the stud has got depleted. And by the time he's ready to actually fertilize some eggs, his semen count's down like that. So timing, get the timing right. Do progesterone tests, get the timing right. So that's the first one. The second one is check the male. Make sure that the semen that you're using is viable. You know, you can look it under a microscope. If you don't know how to do this, go to your vet. If you don't know how to do it and you want to learn, go get a microscope. They're $100 or less, and learn how to do this. But look and make sure his semen looks viable under a microscope. You don't have to spend a lot of money to do this, but certainly you want to make sure that the male is viable. Then the next thing is, so when I say viable, make sure that he's producing sperm, and at the time you're going to use it, if it's been shipped, that it looks good, right? and I was going to say a third thing, I can't think what the hell it was. Technique. If you're doing a technique, if you're doing a artificial insemination, make sure your technique is correct. It's not difficult to do, but you've got to make sure you're putting semen in at the right time, the right way, and it stays inside the dog. Got videos on all that. So I think we're about, oh, there's one more here. Let's just do this one. So someone asked, which will make you more money, a stud or a male or a female? So I don't really like to get into the money side of it too much because it seems a little bit cheap. And that's not really what these videos are about. They're more about having pretty puppies and having fun with it as opposed to the money side of it. But what the heck? So, but I do get people who ask this question and they've got a litter of puppies and they're thinking about keeping a puppy. And so they say to me, well, what should I keep? Should I keep a male or a female? And so let's just talk about that. So it depends on what your goals are. If your goals are to have 2 or 3 Frenchies in your house running around, then I would advise you to have females or a neutered male. I would not want I have 20 French Bulldog studs. I've got 3 girls. The girls are in my house, the studs are not. If I let one of my studs, I promise you, if I let one of my studs into my house or in the barn where we build things for whelping kits and incubators, they've peed 3 times within a minute. They have just pss, 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 marked through the layers, a little bit of piss here, a little bit of piss there, a little bit of piss there. And you just can't live with that. So there are people who do have a stud dog in the house with a single stud dog and they put a belly band on him and things to stop him from peeing all over the place. But my recommendation is this: if you're going to have a male dog, then you need to decide that either he's a stud dog and that you're going to get into the studding business, and that's a whole different part of the whole process. And he's probably not going to be in your house. Or he's a companion dog and he needs to be neutered. So, but let's look at the difference. So we've got the bitch. I'm saying bitch because she's going to produce puppies. And we've got a stud. All right. Now let's just they're both Frenchies, and we're going to make them both the same color because we're trying to do an apples to apples comparison. So they are both going to be fawns. They are your basic fawn, pretty French Bulldog. They've both got nice structure, and there's no difference between them. They're both great looking dogs. So, what does this girl produce? Well, let's just say an average litter for a Frenchie is 4 puppies. You know, you can obviously have litters. Had a customer the other day, had a litter of 12. Had a customer had a litter of 1. But 4 is a good number, so we're just going to say 4. So it has 4 puppies, and typically I think that a fawn dog is worth something around $3,000. It might be a little high in today's market, but that's fine. So 4 dogs at $3,000. So that is what the gross income is from that dog. So that's $12,000. Right, that's what your raw is. Now, you've got to pay for a C-section fee, you've got to pay for vet visits, you've got to pay for worming and medication, and this is all over the place in terms of what it costs. In some places it costs $3,000 for a C-section, some places it costs $300. But let's just round this out and say it costs $2,000 for the extra care and C-section that you're going to have to do to get those puppies to the point that they're going to be at new homes. So your gross profit on that is $10,000. And I think that realistically you can expect for that to happen once a year. Now, certainly you could breed a dog more than once a year, but let's just go once a year. Twice a year, you're not going to do that continuously. Once a year is easy, so let's just make that once a year. And let's say this dog starts breeding when it's 1.5 years old, and it stops breeding when it's 3.5 years old. So it has 3 litters. So there's 3, and that's what we're going to make, $30,000. So that is potentially the upside of a female. Now, people are going to complain at me for putting these numbers out here. This is all arbitrary stuff, but I've been asked a question. I'm trying to answer it the best way I can. So the stud, let's say his stud fee is $1,000. That would be a typical stud fee for a fawn. I mean, I've got fawns, and so that's the kind of stud fee that those dogs go for. So we've got a $1,000 stud fee. Now, I'm not going to worry about the cost of care, of feeding and looking after this dog, because I didn't do it over here either. There is some expense to all this. You've got to look after the dog. He's got to go to the vet. He's got to have his shots. Now, all of those things are true whether it's over here or over here. They're just the cost of having a dog. I mean, it costs some significant money if you look after your dog and treat it properly and feed it nice food, take it to the vet on a regular basis. It costs money to have a dog. But it's the same on both sides. So we didn't take that out. All right. So How many times have you got to stud that dog out to make $30,000? Well, the answer is you've got to do it 30 times. And if you're doing it like me, you've got to be successful 30 times. Because if you're not successful, you don't get paid. So the reality of this is you're probably going to have a hit ratio of something around 80%. So you've really got to stud this guy out something in the order of 40 or 50 times. So, is that doable? Absolutely. Is it doable for you just getting started out? No, it's not. I mean, you know, you've got to go find a market for this. You've got to prove the dog. You've got to learn how to take care of your customers' problems. You've got to know how to ship it. You know, there are quite a bit of other things that go on with this. But you know, if you had a dog that his lifespan was, he started studying at 1 year old, and he kept on going until he was 4 years old, he'd have 3 years at 12 months is 36 months of breeding. So the answer is that that dog would need to be used about once a month for him to make the same money as a single female. So if he's used once a week, guess what? He'd make 4 times as much. Now, how do you get to that point? Well, that's the whole trick of the whole thing, isn't it? You've got to have a really nice dog who does a good job, and you know how to prep the semen and get to the customer and get the timing right and all kinds of other things. So I'm not saying that this is just like falling off a log. It's not. But it was an interesting question. And so I think an answer to this is that you can see that there's money that can be made on both sides of the equation. And this is a perfect world where things go pretty good. I think that realistically, this number is probably a high number. If you breed them more often, you certainly could sway these numbers higher. But if you don't have a hit every time, you'll make these numbers lower. And likewise over here, you know, I think that realistically, you could expect to breed a dog once a month for the first 3 years of its stud service and come out in a similar kind of amount of money. All right. So, hey, thanks for watching. I hope this has been helpful. If it is, give me a thumbs up. Subscribe to me. If it hasn't, then tell us why we're idiots, because we will listen to that too, because we're not infallible. And if you want to hear other things about other things to do with breeding, dogs, puppies, whatever, then just drop us a line. And always, do go look at our puppies, and certainly we do have some wonderful products, things that really can make your life much easier on your breeding of your dogs and having healthy puppies more successful. And again, thank you for watching. Be nice to your animals. Okay. Oh, they're finding out about him, aren't they? They're finding out about him, aren't they?
Oh, burglary and...
Has she got a PI, private investigator?
Yeah, that girl does.
Yeah. Did the tracking device show some bad behavior?